You skip breakfast, and nothing dramatic happens. No fireworks, no instant fat burn. Just a quiet clock starting inside you. But deep under your skin, your cells are listening for one signal: scarcity. Because when food stops arriving, your body doesn't panic. It reorganizes. Think of every cell as a city with workers on shift. Insulin is the gatekeeper who decides whether supplies keep coming in. AMPK is the emergency manager who whispers, conserve, repair, reuse. And inside each cell, a tiny cleanup crew waits in the dark lysosomes. The recycling plants that can dismantle broken machinery and turn it into fresh parts. That hidden system is autophagy. The name sounds like self-destruction, but it's closer to self-renewal. Your body dismantling what's damaged, so what's healthy can run smoother. Here's the twist biohackers love. Autophagy isn't a switch you flip the moment you feel hungry. It's a timeline. In the discomfort you fear hunger waves, fatigue. Even brain fog may not be failure. It can be the sound of your biology changing gears. So how long do you actually have to fast before the cleanup crew truly clocks in, and what strange elite modes activate after that? Picture your body like a mega city that never sleeps. Every cell is a workshop. Every workshop has machines, proteins, mitochondria, enzymes running all day, taking damage, wearing down, getting rusty. Now here's the problem. If you never clear the broken parts, the whole city clogs up. Energy drops, inflammation rises, aging speeds up. That's where autophagy steps in your internal recycling system. Not a destroyer or restoration crew. When it activates, tiny workers inside your cells start collecting damaged proteins and worn-out components, dragging them into a microscopic recycling furnace called the lysosome. And instead of throwing them away, the cell melts them down into raw materials, amino acids. Fatty acids then rebuilds new, functional parts. It's like cleaning a room, but the room is every cell in your body, and the mess is molecular. This isn't theory. In 2016, Yoshinori Osumi received the Nobel Prize for revealing the core machinery behind this process, proving autophagy isn't optional housekeeping. Without it, waste accumulates, cells malfunction, and the body's systems begin to fail faster. Now the solution. Fasting creates the trigger. When food stops coming, your body senses nutrient scarcity and shifts into survival efficiency. Digestion slows, growth is paused, and your cells turn inward. Use what we already have. Repair what we can. Recycle what's broken. That's why many people report sharper focus, steadier energy, and easier fat loss after adapting, because the body isn't multitasking anymore. It's prioritizing internal maintenance. And then comes the surprise. There's a special ops version of autophagy, sometimes described like eating alien flesh. Your cells can target invaders hiding inside them: viruses, bacteria, even parasites, breaking them down like contraband in a sealed room. Researchers are exploring whether boosting this pathway could help the body clear infections that antibiotics can't fully erase. So if your cells can recycle junk and hunt invaders, what decides when these crews actually clock in? And why doesn't it happen the moment you skip breakfast? Before you skip a meal and expect cellular cleaning, you need one thing most people ignore: the clock. This whole discovery started in yeast's tiny life forms with the same brutal logic as us. Survive first, grow later. When Yoshinori Osumi reduced nutrients, he saw something eerie under the microscope. Small vesicles formed like trash bags, drifting through the cell, swallowing debris in real time. The cell wasn't dying. It was choosing what to dismantle so it could keep living. That's the problem with modern fasting myths. Your body does not flip into cleanup mode the second you skip breakfast. Your cells aren't lazy, they're cautious. They need proof that scarcity is real, not a short delay between snacks. The balance is delicate. Too little stress and autophagy stays asleep. Too much stress and the body screams with cortisol, and protection overrides repair. Now the solution is timing, and your circadian rhythm is the supervisor. Doctor Sachin Panda's work suggests autophagy is naturally more active at night, when your body expects darkness, quiet, and repair. That means two 16-hour fasts aren't equal. Ending dinner at 6 p.m. and fasting through the night may create a stronger repair window than starting a late fast at midnight, because one aligns with your internal repair schedule, and the other fights it. Hour 0 to 12 is the obvious fuel phase. Your insulin gatekeeper is still processing the last delivery. Blood glucose is used first. Then liver glycogen becomes the backup generator. Outwardly, nothing dramatic happens. This is why people quit too early. But around hours 6 to 12, subtle workers change shifts. Norepinephrine may rise to keep you alert. Growth hormone nudges upward to protect muscle. And your body begins leaning away from sugar toward fat. Then comes hour 12 to 16, when the control room starts pulling switches. Insulin stays low. Fat becomes primary fuel. Molecular sensors like AMPK insertions detect scarcity and announce. Pause expansion. Enter maintenance mode. And in the brain, B, D, and F can rise like upgrading the firmware for focus and memory. At around hour 16, the mood inside your body changes. Up to now, your cells were cautious like a factory manager watching the supply chain, waiting to see if food is truly gone. But once scarcity holds, the cleanup crew stops whispering and starts moving. Inside each cell, inspectors begin tagging old proteins, misfolded enzymes, and weak mitochondria, the exhausted batteries that can leak stress signals. Then the lysosome doors open, and the recycling furnaces flare. Here's the validation most people need. If you feel strangely calm, or steady, or even a little cold and alert, that's not you losing strength. That can be blood sugar stabilizing, while your biology reallocates energy from digestion to repair. Scientists observing this window often note a shift toward lower inflammatory signaling and stronger antioxidant activity. Your cells aren't only cleaning, they're reinforcing the walls after the storm. And then comes the surprise that biohackers obsess over. Most people imagine autophagy as a garbage truck big general, scooping everything. But there's a precision version, CMA, like a sniper. It uses a targeting system to identify specific damaged proteins and pull them into the lysosome one by one, surgical, selective, efficient. So if the cleaning crew is already working at 16, what happens when you cross 24 hours and enter the recovery zone where mitochondria get recycled and even immune cells may get replaced? Hour 24 feels like crossing a border. Not because your body is running out, but because the last easy fuel liver glycogen is nearly gone. The supply room is empty, and that forces a different kind of intelligence. Maintenance at the microscopic level. Inside your cells, a specialized crew takes the lead. Mitophagy. Think of mitochondria as millions of small batteries powering every thought, heartbeat, and muscle twitch. Over time, some batteries become faulty still alive, but leaking sparks. They generate more oxidative stress than energy. Mitophagy is the quality control manager that pulls those weak batteries off the line and recycles them before they poison the whole factory. This is where the discomfort needs a new meaning. If you feel a wave of fatigue or a hollow hunger, that isn't automatically danger. It can be the moment your body reallocates resources, like shutting lights in one building so the repair team can rebuild the power grid. And the surprise gets stranger. Research suggests a 24-hour fast may help refresh parts of the immune system, clearing older, worn-out white blood cells and nudging the body toward producing new ones. It's like retiring tired security guards and recruiting sharper replacements. But not all autophagy is equal. The most elite version is mitochondrial phagocytosis, targeted recycling of those cell batteries. Biohackers obsess over a postbiotic signal called urolithin A because only some people can make it. Roughly 40% have the gut microbes to convert compounds from pomegranate into this mitochondrial wake-up call. So the question becomes, can you tune your gut to become a producer, or will your mitochondria stay in that zombie state half alive? Low energy, fueling inflammatory aging. When you enter the second day of fasting, your body stops acting like it's merely coping and starts acting like it's rebuilding. This is the point where repair shifts from local cleanup to system-level renovation. The workers inside your cells aren't just sweeping floors anymore. They're replacing wiring, upgrading engines, retiring damaged parts that have been dragging your metabolism down for years. Here's the problem most people miss. Fat loss isn't always the same as fat cleansing. Researchers connected to Albert Einstein College of Medicine highlighted a sub-program of autophagy, sometimes described as eat fat, a process where the body targets lipid droplets stored inside liver cells. Not just burning fat for fuel, but actively dismantling fat that's accumulated inside organs. That matters because non-alcoholic fatty liver disease isn't just a diagnosis, it's a metabolic traffic jam. If fasting can trigger organ-level decluttering, It suggests you might reverse damage before it becomes visible in blood tests, scans, or a chronic label. Now the solution biohackers chase. The 36-hour window. Around 36 hours. Many researchers describe autophagy reaching an optimal point. Intense recycling without tipping into nutrient deficiency. Hormonal workers change shifts again. Growth hormone can rise dramatically, acting like a bodyguard for muscle while fat metabolism accelerates. This is where people report something paradoxical. They expected weakness, but they feel mental clarity, like the fog lifts because inflammation quiets and the brain runs on a cleaner fuel mix. And then comes the strange part. Autophagy isn't only happening in liver and muscle. During deep sleep stage N3, your brain activates a cleaning pathway tied to its fluid spaces. Often discussed as the glymphatic system, brain cells subtly shrink, creating room for cerebrospinal fluid to wash through and flush out amyloid beta brain waste linked to neurodegeneration. Some researchers and applied biologists even argue sleep position matters, with side sleeping often specifically the right side, potentially optimizing pressure and flow compared to lying flat on your back. But what if 36 hours feels too extreme? Walter Longo's group popularized a clinical alternative, the fasting-mimicking diet, roughly 800 to 1,100 calories, with a very specific plant fat-to-fiber balance for 5 days, designed to keep autophagy active while still eating, and shown to reduce IGF-1 in a way that can resemble water fasting. So the question becomes, do you push into the deep clean zone with time or mimic it with precision without breaking the system? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Fasting is a scalpel, but starvation is a fire. From the outside, they can look similar: less food, more hunger, shrinking scale number. But biologically, they are not the same event. Autophagy is controlled, voluntary, a strategic response. It's your cells choosing to pause growth so they can repair like a factory scheduling maintenance when deliveries stop. Hunger in this phase can be a signal of adaptation, not collapse. The body is still organized, still intelligent, still protecting the essentials. Starvation is different. It's involuntary, prolonged, and chaotic. The body no longer chooses repair, it fights for survival. Instead of recycling damaged part, it begins breaking down healthy tissue and muscle just to keep the lights on. That's when the workers stop cooperating and start rioting. This is the validation many people need. Feeling hungry is not automatically a red flag, but feeling wrecked, wired, panicked, unable to sleep, heart racing can be your stress system taking control. Push too far, and cortisol rises like an emergency siren. Metabolism can slow. Recovery turns into a stress signal. The art of fasting isn't endurance. It's rhythm, knowing when to apply pressure and when to release it. And then comes the sabotage most clean fasting beginners never see. Medical discussions around MTOR describe it as a growth switch that can shut down autophagy when certain nutrients appear. One amino acid is famous for this: leucine, common in dairy and meat. Even small protein signals can flip MTOR on, meaning you might stay in a calorie deficit and still block the deep repair you were chasing. That's why unhealthy fasting adding collagen, cream, or protein-like add-ons can allow fat loss while quietly canceling cell cleanup. So the real question is, how do you trigger repair without crossing the line into stress and without accidentally flipping MTOR back on? If fasting is the most direct way to wake up autophagy, here's the surprise. It's not the only key that fits the lock. Your cells don't respond only to no food. They respond to signals of energy demand, heat stress, cold stress, and deep recovery, different alarms that all tell the same story. Stop building. Start maintaining. First, exercise, especially high-intensity work. Think of glycogen as the quick cash drawer in your metabolic shop. A hard sprint session, intervals, heavy compounds. Even a brutal hill climb can drain that drawer fast. When glycogen drops, your cells get the same message fasting sends: scarcity. A MPK, the energy sensor, leans over the control panel and says, switch to efficiency. That shift can activate autophagy pathways even if you're not doing a long fast. Second, heat and cold therapy. A sauna isn't just sweating, it's controlled stress. Your cells activate protective programs, heat shock responses, repair signaling, and pathways that overlap with fasting biology. Cold exposure can do something similar, forcing the body to mobilize fuel and adapt. You're not suffering for discipline points, you're sending a biological memo. We need resilience upgrades. Third, nutrients that act like signals, not calories. Polyphenols in green tea, turmeric compounds. Resveratrol-like molecules, these can stimulate AMPK activity, nudging the body toward maintenance mode. Not magic pills, more like gentle taps on the same switch fasting hits with a hammer. Fourth, sleep, the most underrated autophagy amplifier. Deep. Regular sleep is when your repair crews get uninterrupted hours to work. No digestion. No stress spikes. No constant signal noise. Just maintenance. So what's the solution? If you want autophagy without obsession, find the rhythm. After decades of research, the most repeated window for efficient autophagy activation is roughly 16 to 36 hours, whether that's a daily 16-8 pattern or an occasional 24-hour fast. Consistency beats heroics. Your cells don't need one dramatic cleanup. They need a schedule. Because autophagy isn't a one-time event. It's a recurring contract between you and your biology. You provide the right signals and your cells rebuild you from the inside. If you want more cinematic breakdowns like this hour by hour, mechanism by mechanism, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what fasting window are you experimenting with right now? And what's the strangest effect you've noticed so far?